Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Elllen Kamhi, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
And greetings. Thank you so much for joining me, Elllen Kamhi, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, we have as our guest, Sarah Clark. Sarah is a certified life coach with accreditation from the International Coaches Federation and a health coach who trains with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Her fertility coaching program includes functional lab testing and supports couples to make diet and lifestyle changes that dramatically improve the chances of having a healthy pregnancy and baby. To find out more, you can visit fabfertile.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Now, you do other topics, I think, because I looked you up online, and I see that you coach in many areas, but you have a sort of specialty focus on fertility.
All my coaching is fertility, so I have my own journey with infertility, and we help couples now that are struggling on the journey to have their baby.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for many years, I worked at a clinic in Manhattan that was a fertility specialty clinic. And, of course, this was a regular mainstream physician who did all the pharmaceuticals, et cetera, procedures. You know, there's a lot with that, and I'm sure many couples who are interested in this topic know. But he brought me in to do holistic nutrition, and what an amazing turnaround rate we had in terms of success and, you know, healthy babies. He was amazingly impressed that this is not taught in medical school.
That's right.
It's just ridiculous because you really, really do so much great work when you learn how to approach fertility from a natural perspective.
Absolutely, yeah. We believe in that roundtable approach, which I think was coined by Dr. Oz, talking about you have your roundtable, and in this case for fertility, you have your RE, your OBGYN, your fertility coach, your nutritionist, your acupuncturist, your chiro, masseuse. Like not all at once, but you're in the middle, and you're the connector of your own healing. And a lot of times, people when they're dealing with an infertility diagnosis, they go straight to their OBGYN, then they're referred right to the fertility clinic, and then that's where they go down the whole conventional medical route. Whereas in the functional approach, where we're looking at the root cause of why is this happening in the first place, and not focusing on the diagnosis, is digging into why, and those people are part of your team, but you need to listen to your body, and there's other things you can do, and RE is not trained in the power of these diet and lifestyle changes, and in the power of the functional approach.
Which is really too bad because, as you mentioned, it all can work beautifully together. But when we're talking about natural, and I'm sure you do in your book, Fabulously Fertile, supercharge your fertility naturally, and on your podcasts on iTunes and Spotify, and I'm sure you focus on why not only try this, but try it first, because what are the downsides or the possible side effects or dangers of eating healthy?
Yeah, there's no downside to basically figuring out, well, why is this not working in the first place? And it takes 90 days for the egg to renew itself. The life cycle of the sperm is 70 to 80 days. So at an absolute minimum, 3 months. We're saying more like 6 months. But to really figure out what's going on with your body, and from a functional approach, we're really dialing in, like taking a very targeted approach to this, because sometimes people can see many different practitioners and do some other things with diet and lifestyle, and they could be doing some of the right things, but maybe it's not right for their body. So it is taking a very targeted approach to this. And it is hard because most people, even if they're 28 or 38, when they come to see me, it doesn't matter. They're always in a panic to have their child. Like they're past the time when they want to expand their family, and so I think that's why more people are going to, and still a very small percentage of people will go to IVF or IUI because obviously there's a cost factor there. But the people that are going there, it's because wait a minute, that the technology is available. Why wouldn't I use it? And also there's this impatience part where it's like, oh wait, I want to have my child now, and taking and really stepping back and going, wait a minute, because all of this can impact your health, so your postpartum health, the health of your child, your pregnancy. It's important to take a step back so you can take 3 steps forward.
Well, one thing that I always advise couples to also do in terms of, integrating mind, body, and more or less doing everything we can is actually consider adoption. And I've had many, many clients go ahead and proceed with beginning the adoption process, because that is showing the universe your commitment to parenthood, and at the same time pursue fertility for your own natural child as well. And there are so many couples, especially older couples, that actually went forward and did both. They did get pregnant finally. And it's kind of, considered an old wives' tale, but it seems like when that pressure comes off, very often that actually enhances fertility.
Yeah, because there's different stressors on the body, be it a mental, emotional stressor. So depending on whatever's going on there, if you've just put all this pressure on yourself and you're completely burnt out, that's why we look at your cortisol levels and using the Dutch test. But the mental, emotional stress, there's physiological stress like gut infections and food sensitivities, and then environmental toxins we're all exposed to, and then structural stress. So yeah, with that piece, sometimes when you alleviate the mental, emotional stress, even though if I were to say to any like couple, like I wouldn't say to adopt, because that's like this huge trigger for anyone on the fertility journey. If you say go and adopt, they're going to come and slap you. So, and I know what you're saying there, but I guess just in this journey, people are extremely triggered by a lot of things, and they can even be triggered by seeing another family, especially if they have secondary infertility. If they see a family, they're triggered by that. And so, yeah, there's all these stories of this person did this and that person did this, and why don't you try this? And this well-meaning advice, which can just send someone down a negative, dark spiral of feeling that they're broken and kind of in a bad place.
Well, let's talk about your personal journey, because I know that you actually did use certain fertility interventions before you even worked on, let's say, digestive issues, which would seem unrelated.
Yeah, so I did it all backwards. So so for me, I had in my early 20s, I had a regular period, so I had the periods a couple times a year. And then I had a weird fungal rash in my chest. During my early teens, I didn't have any. During my teens, I didn't have any acne, but in my early 20s, I started getting acne. So I had this fungal rash, some acne, irregular periods, and yeast infections a little bit. So with that, went on the pill, because that was sort of the line of defense. If your periods are irregular in your early 20s, go on the pill, which is a Band-Aid approach, and we see this a lot with people that when they come off the pill, and now they're dealing with all the issues that were still there. So went on the pill, and it didn't fix the acne, it didn't fix the yeast infections. Obviously, it regulated the cycle, but that was a false regulation. And then I wanted to have my kids. We wanted to have our kids I had this life plan of having them at 28, so went off the pill before that, and and my periods were still irregular when I went off the pill. And then I went in to see my OBGYN, and I was told I had premature ovarian failure, which is the loss of function before the loss of function of the ovaries before the age of 40, and told the only way I'd ever have my own children was through donor eggs. And I remember her grabbing the IVF brochure and saying, "Off you go." And I didn't even get a second opinion. I took that diagnosis and went, okay, so my next step is to go to the fertility clinic and get on a list for donor eggs. And this is back when they used to, someone was going through male factor infertility, and in return for us paying for her treatment, she would then donate half her eggs to us. So we did that, and we selected a donor, and we're lucky enough on the first fresh transfer, and our daughter's 18. So this is years ago when you said donor eggs, and people are like, I don't even know what that is. Now it's unfortunately more common. You've got all these little embryos too, where you've got embryo adoption and donation because of all the different IVF treatments that are going on. So those are more common. But so we had 2 embryos left over after we had our daughter, and wanted the kids close together. And was like, when we talked about that stress factor, I was like super keyed up to have them close together. Went back in there, and then those 2 embryos failed, and then we went back on a list for a separate donor, and lucky enough on that first transfer to have our son, and he's 15. So, and then really after I had my daughter, my health took a nosedive. I'm sick right now, but I'm usually quite healthy. But after I had my daughter, I remember I had like 9 colds. Every cold went into a sinus infection, and I took antibiotics for every sinus infection, which was not a good idea. It completely destroyed all the beneficial bacteria in my gut. I had chronic bladder infections with peeing blood. I had chronic sinus, chronic bladder, chronic yeast infections, vertigo, toenail infections, dandruff, digestive issues. So all these seemingly unrelated issues that, I was still functioning, still able to work, but my immune system was just completely compromised. And then,
well, one second there. I just want to let people know who we're talking to here today. So you're listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Elllen Kamhi, the natural nurse. And today my guest is Sarah Clark. She is the author of Fabulously Fertile, Supercharge Your Fertility Naturally. And if any of you are listening to our show, these shows are archived so that if you know someone who needs this information on the topic that we're discussing today, you can always email us at the station at nccradio.org. You can listen there live, and you can also email us at whpc@ncc.edu. And we will get you a link to today's show if you want someone to listen who wasn't available to listen in your car or on your way driving around today. And we're talking to Sarah Clark. She shared her experiences. And now, Sarah, that's amazing because your children are actually almost grown. They're older teenagers now.
That's right.
So that worked for you. But now with further development of your interest in natural, what is Fabulously Fertile about? Supercharge Your Fertility Naturally.
Yeah, so basically that's my book, and really kind of goes into the foundations of what you can do to prepare your body for a baby. Really looking at diet and lifestyle factors that can help improve that. So I think a lot. So basically, we recommend people starting off with the elimination diet to figure out if you have a food sensitivity, and that's what I discovered for me. So I discovered I had food sensitivity to dairy, gluten, and corn, and then later I had a gut infection, so H. pylori, streptococcus, and fungal overgrowth, and then also like doing too much, so creating boundaries and all that sort of the mental emotional side of things. All the environmental toxins that I was exposed to. I have the MTHFR gene, so it impairs my body's ability to methylate. So
wait a minute. Now you're throwing out a lot of terms in quick succession. We want to slow you down a little bit to explain them because, although I certainly am fully familiar with everything you're speaking about, many people wouldn't be. Like, what is an MTHR test?
Yeah, the MTHFR. So and we see this a lot with, and this is like a whole rabbit hole, and I'm certainly by no means any kind of specialist in MTHFR. It is a huge topic. I refer out to Dr. Ben Lynch, who is the world-renowned expert on that one, and I love his book, Dirty Genes. But we see people that have if they have repeat miscarriage or dealing with infertility, and they have MTHFR, and then sometimes with that, people go down a whole rabbit hole of different things for that. So,
first of all, I will share what that is. So what that is a genetic situation that can be super easily tested for with a simple swab, a simple cheek swab. And I actually think that many of these genetic SNPs that may have challenges should be tested for on everyone, because the sooner you find out about it, the better. Because if you are someone with either a homogeneous where both of the pieces show that you have a challenge with this particular methylation process, or even if you're heterogeneous and you inherited it from one parent, that can enhance the difficulty that you have with digestion. And there's a very simple thing that you can do, which is eating whole foods, and if you use supplements, be sure that it is the methylated form. So that is quick, easy, and something that people can do, and I really think it should be part of conventional standard of practice to find out.
Absolutely, yeah. Like if you're taking a prenatal, make sure it doesn't have folic acid, which is the synthetic form. You want to make sure that your prenatal is a methylated prenatal, a methylated folate, which is what we recommend. So
and it's such a simple thing.
Oh, yeah, and most people are taking
there's no side
folic
effect
acid
to the test. Well, we look at conventional interventions like what you went through. All of those things, taking that long list of hormones, doing implantation of eggs and, gathering and all that. I mean, that is wonderful that it can help someone have children like you. And they're beautiful grown children now, but it comes with a huge price tag and a lot of possible devastating side effects. So these more natural approaches are a much better thing to start with, and then we can save that more invasive if the natural doesn't work.
Yeah, like to really dig into why it's not working in the first place. Why do we feel that IVF or an IUI is the first logical step in putting drugs in our body? Wait a minute. Maybe
exactly. Although it might be necessary, and it worked for you, which is great. It's there, but then you found out, wow, there's a lot of other things that I can do. We're just going to take a little break here and remind you that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen live online at nccradio.org or on iHeartRadio. For more information on today's guest or topic, send us an email at whpc@ncc.edu. Stay tuned. Herbally Yours will be right back.
We are the boy band. Your tween made you see. We are the boy band. It's painful concert number 3. We are the boy band. We're 5 and 19. We are the boy band. Always singing on key.
You love your kids enough to take them to see their favorite band. Love them enough to make sure they're buckled up in the back seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Bell, and I invited you here to my hotel room to talk about your cheeks. Your big, beautiful cheeks. Get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about swabbing them. Did you guys know that each year 20,000 Americans with blood cancer are searching for their life-saving marrow match? So here's how we can help. It's really, really simple. All you have to do is swab your cheek. Then go to giftoflife.org and request a free kit so that you can swab a cheek and save a life.
And welcome back once again to Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College. This is Elllen Kamhi, the natural nurse, and you can find me at naturalnurse.com. Our guest today is Sarah Clark, fertility-focused specialist and author of Fabulously Fertile, Supercharge Your Fertility Naturally. Sarah, one thing I know you have available at fabfertile.com, your website, is a fertility diet test. Tell us about that, because people may want to give it a try.
Yeah, so it's a 3-day fertility diet, and they can really dip their toe into eating a clean diet that's really going to help prepare your body for a baby. So it's got recipes in there. So it's for 3 days, and then you do that with your partner, and really helps you to start to figure out how food impacts your body.
So what a wonderful thing, because what is the side effect of trying that?
Yeah, exactly. That's feeling good.
Exactly. So if it doesn't make you more fertile, which may be, what you're looking for, so it does something else really great for you. That is the thing about natural. It's a win-win across the board. Now, when you talk about some of these different tests that you started to share with us, would someone have to go to a physician to get these tests ordered?
No, we can ship the test worldwide. So we start off with, we start our couples doing the elimination diet, which is the gold standard to figure out if you have a food sensitivity. So taking out the top allergens, which are dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, and eggs, take them out for 10 days, systematically reintroduce them. So we have both partners do that. And I've on my podcast, Get Pregnant Naturally, there's an episode there, how and why to do the elimination diet. I take you through the exact steps. And then we'll do the food sensitivity test. And we have a number of food sensitivity tests that we have access to depending on where you are and looking at your specific situation. But there's a Zoomer bundle that we're looking at now that will really dig into looking at kind of going, goes into the weeds though for wheat, dairy, soy, and corn, and then also includes IgG testing. So for people that have delayed, this is for food reactions. Most people are like, oh, they come to me and say, I don't have a food sensitivity. And I say the majority of people we work with actually do. So
yes,
it could
I
agree. Pardon?
I said, yes, I have definitely found that to be the case.
Yeah, and it could be the bread you have on Friday. You don't actually notice, every Monday you have a migraine. Well, maybe it's the bread you had on Friday, so you never really put the connection together. So the wheat Zoomer the Zoomer bundle is a good one to look at. We also look at the Leap MRT, or if you're outside of North America, we're looking at IgG. So those are shipped worldwide, and we just really it helps to customize the diet piece for someone. And there's really no perfect food sensitivity test. It is a snapshot in time, and sometimes people come back and they have, they're intolerant to all they're sensitive to all their favorite foods, which could then indicate they have a leaky gut, which your body's mounting an immune response to, mounting an immune response to your favorite foods. So, and then as you start to heal your gut and heal your body, then you can start to reintroduce the foods. So it is to take those the foods out for 60 to 90 days, and then gradually reintroduce them. So the food piece, I think, for most people, most people would say to me they eat a clean diet, but as we dig into it, there's lots of things that can be missed. So we've had people that are, they're sensitive to lettuce. Well, lettuce is a healthy food, but maybe it's not healthy for your body at this point in time. So the food sensitivity test really helps us to dig into that.
That's a very, very good point, and thank you for that. So what about, environmental toxins? We have a lot of listeners in the Long Island, New York area, and I was just reading an article from Newsday saying that Long Island's water has been discovered to be the most toxic in all of New York State. So what about the toxins in the water?
Absolutely. So at a very minimum, you want to use a Brita water filter. That one's still not going to take out all the toxins. We like our favorite is the Berkey, Berkey. It is a little more expensive, or you can do like a reverse osmosis one. You can go down a whole rabbit hole of water filters. But the whole idea is do not drink tap water. You can go to the environmental working group, and you can put your zip code in there, and they'll give you the water for your area to see what the levels of contaminants are. But I drank tap water for years, and then until I discovered, oh wait, all this stuff that's in it is impacting my health. And now when I've switched over to filtered water, it just tastes better.
It tastes better, but it also has so many less of these environmental toxins, which are absolutely linked to all kinds of disease processes, including infertility, because it causes your body to mount, like you talk about also, an autoimmune response, where if everything's out of balance and your body is constantly fighting everything because of all those toxins there, very often it may also recognize a fetus as something that is not part of the body and attack it as well, which is often something people have to, watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at the water, looking at, I guess a simple one is to look at your personal care. You can go to the Skin Deep database and look at your current personal care products and look at the ratings for them and switch to non-toxic, and not to go down the rabbit hole on this one either to throw everything in the garbage. It's as each product expires and you're finished with it, then you can change. Then you can get a new non-toxic option. So to really, because we're slathering all sorts of chemicals on our body, which have been shown to impact both male and female fertility. So looking at your personal care, one that I would do right away is your feminine hygiene products. You're putting in that in your most intimate area. I would make sure that you're switching to a non-toxic natural brand, either like a Diva cup, or there's organic pads and tampons, and they've got all kinds of new ones. There's period undies and things like that. So really looking at your feminine hygiene, because it can be sprayed with glyphosate, which is a herbicide linked to infertility and a whole host of other diseases. So you definitely don't want to put that in your most intimate area.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And even a shower filter is a very important addition and very inexpensive. People can just more or less put it in by themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, I've got the water filter," and then we're actually, when we're in the shower, we're inhaling all those vapors, especially if you've got a thyroid condition, which we see a lot of people with dysregulated thyroid, be it either having Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, which has been undiagnosed, and we don't diagnose anything. We're looking at, we're doing blood chemistry review to educate and really say, wait a minute, we're looking at the levels using functional levels, or people that are, so the functional levels are people that are healthy, whereas the conventional levels are people with disease. So the reference ranges in the functional levels are a little tighter, and it just flags things before it goes to disease. So we can see things there, and we see a lot of people with thyroid issues, and you're inhaling all the vapors in the shower, and that can impact your thyroid. So all the fluoride and stuff like that coming off of that. So you want to make sure you're just, like you talked about, just doing a $20 or $30 little shower filter.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today. We are out of time here on Herbally Yours. How's the best way for people to find you, Sarah?
Yeah, definitely find me on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. It's on iTunes or Stitcher.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Elllen Kamhi at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us again next week